Welcome to Life, Language, and Lyrics with me, Laina, where you can listen to conversations that I have with some of the most interesting people I know. Thank you for stopping through. Now let's get into this episode. All right, so today's guest is Yusha Assad, who is a creative, lyrical, and insightful storyteller slash vocalist with over 20 years of experience in writing and recording music. But you also have a number of other different ventures I'll let you talk about in a little bit. But I invited you here today because I want to have a conversation with you about living in your purpose, as well as your music. So thank you, Yusha, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I always love working with you, and obviously you're a person who loves to move with intention in what you do. So I'm always willing to be connected to that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So first, can you just tell us who is Yusha? How do you describe yourself? Yeah.
That question is so broad, right? But it's you could jump into the things that you do. You could jump into personal characteristics. I think I'll do both. First of all, I'm a hip hop artist, a speaker, and now a master certified life coach. But ultimately, I'm a guy who loves to help and support others, who loves to work with, for, and around people. I ultimately believe that all of us have gifts and talents that, when uncovered, allow us to live the true life that we were sent here to have. That we all have really deep and powerful abilities to cultivate life for ourselves and our families. And I've fortunate to be one of those people who believe in that so deeply that I've sought out to live my life based off that belief. So everything that I do, in a sense, is in alignment with that. Very disciplined, dedicated guy, creative guy, family oriented, and yeah.
That's a good description. And I'm one of those people that have benefited from you wanting to help other people, because you've been a big supporter of me in this, almost year, I think, now that I've known you. And then you talked about some of the things that you do, and you have a few business ventures. Can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, so I have 3 solidified businesses. The first one is With Great Care LLC. With Great Care, we curate platforms within the corridors of business, education, and entertainment to spread a belief. And that belief is that we don't just strive to do great things, that we do all things with great care, purpose, and intention. And so within those corridors of business, education, and entertainment, we have, different things. So we essentially have a music label. And also in the entertainment structure, we have a event called Revival DC, which is a DC-based event. In the educational sector, we have a program called the Hope Campaign. And then within the business sector, we do workforce development, coaching, and contracting with the government to help youth who are in the city figure out how to navigate workforce so that they don't have to leave their city to make it, right? They can make it in DC. So that's With Great Care. I also have WGC Apparel, which is kind of like it's the apparel connected to With Great Care, but it's its own entity because it's strictly just for apparel. It doesn't do all of the other things that the other businesses, that the parent business does. So With Great Care Apparel is a lifestyle clothing brand, which focuses on pushing the idea of With Great Care in the world. You have it on now. Our flagship sweater, released. But it's really just focused on putting really high quality clothing in the market. Can't be an organization like With Great Care and then your product isn't made that way. So We put a lot of intention into the product. And then my last business is Yusha Assad LLC, my personal brand business that really focuses on me as an artist. So With Great Care might focus on the label altogether and all the things that come with like running a functional label. Yusha Assad focuses on me as an artist and as a brand. So you'll get the speaking, the performing, and the life coaching up under that business.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. It's a lot you got going on. And these shirts the quality is very, very good. It's all stitched, so you don't have to worry about washing it too many times and the letters coming off. It's very nice. So you talk a lot about living in your purpose. And one of the reasons I really have been inspired by you is because you took this really big leap of faith this year to truly live in your purpose. And so you wrote a blog about making that move, and you really have been stepping forward. And I wanted you to kind of talk about what it means to you to live in your purpose and how you positioned yourself to do so.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's scary as hell.
I could imagine.
Excuse my language, but it's scary as hell. When I did it the first time. So I did it the first time in 2019. I was a nonprofit organization, and they lost some of their funding, so they had to lay off people around the country. And versus going to just find a new job, I spent 10 months grinding it out as a full-time entrepreneur. I already had some business contracts and some relationships together, so I was able to maintain. But I did that then. After 10 months, I decided to go back to work, which was cool because I went back to work right before the pandemic. So it was very beneficial. This time, when I went back to work in 2020, I wasn't supposed to stay. I was only supposed to stay long enough to get the capital that I needed to come back out and run my businesses. Well, due to the pandemic, there was a lot of support from the government available, and I was able to secure some of that support. So technically, I gained everything that I needed to come out and run the business effectively. But to be honest, I just got real comfortable getting that check every 2 weeks, right? After going from like kind of being out here hustling for 10 months, manifesting money to pay bills, being able to get a check every 2 months and not being concerned about the bills just got comfortable. It got real comfortable. While I was only really supposed to spend maybe a year there, I ended up spending 2 years there. And but by the second year, even though the money was comfortable, the scenario wasn't comfortable. I've always been a person who is just super creative and thinking about how to change the world. And I've also, even as a kid, I was a busybody. I couldn't sit down. Boy, you got ants in your pants, right? That's what they used to say in the country. That's the country talk. Boy, you got ants in your pants. You can't sit down. And I couldn't. My creativity is always going to take me outside of the box. So being able to work on my purpose, for me, stepping back out in full-time entrepreneurship was an opportunity to say, I know that I was made for more. I know that I'm bigger than this, but I'm not going to get here working within the confines of this organization or this system. It wasn't made to understand my gifting. So if I want to become all that I was sent here to be, I have to be in a space where my creativity can fully flow, and whatever I'm thinking about, whatever I'm willing to put energy and intentionality behind, I can go create without approval from someone else because it aligns with what they want to do. So I'm not against having a job for folks, but walking in my purpose means I get to use my time to become what I was sent here to be.
And that, I know that has to be very exciting too, to just be able to.
It is, if you can allow yourself to do it without the stress and the worry of not getting that check every 13 days.
Right.
If you can get accustomed to being able to grind a little bit to find the money, then it's very rewarding.
And I think that's one of the things too, is really knowing that you have to put in the work to be able to get to that place as well.
Yeah, they say most people who work a job, a 9 to 5 on a typical day, they put in a solid 3 hours 3 to 4 hours of work. Everything else is, you know, I'm playing around. But as an entrepreneur, you go
I
from,
agree with that.
yeah, as an
I agree
entrepreneur,
with
you go
that.
from working 9 hours, 8 hours a day, where you might only be working 3 hours for real, to solidly putting in 12 to 16 hours over like real work.
Mhm. I say, now this semester is different. I have been working a lot, but before the pandemic, I think I would get to my office maybe about noon, 11:30 noon. I'd eat my lunch. And then, if my homegirl's in the office next door, I go chat with her a little bit, and then maybe sit down, do some work, go teach a class. It was probably about 3 hours of work.
Mhm.
So I pulled a quote from the blog you wrote when you wrote the resignation letter, that I thought was very deep, and it kind of ties into what you just kind of said, but I wanted to read that. You said, you can feel the unsettling sound of your soul, but you ignore it for the rationale of perceived safety and comfort. Soon you learn that if you forfeit the call to something greater to maintain perceived comfort, that you will soon become uncomfortable.
Mm.
And there was a podcast I was listening to last week. It was Jay Shetty and some doctor, and they talked about, they were kind of talking about people growing, and they were saying how we're always looking for the space of comfort, but the places where we truly go is when the ground is more shaky for us. And I guess that kind of ties into some of that fear, where we want to be comfortable, but we need that kind of unsteadiness sometimes to make us grow, and I guess kind of move into the spaces that we want to move into. So I thought that was really interesting. What do you think is the most challenging part? Like you talked about, like, not, I guess, like if you're okay with not getting that check every 2 weeks or so, but there's other parts that are also kind of scary or challenging to like trying to live in your purpose. What else do you think kind of like keeps people from moving into that?
I mean, I think so. One, the bigger conversation is faith or fear, and both are important, right? I don't ever tell a person to like don't listen to fear. My question would always be like, what is fear telling you? And my second question would be like, what is faith telling you? What can you learn from both? But I think if we break it down into like what are the fears, I think the first fear is that you're gonna lose something.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna lose, people gonna feel like, oh, I'm gonna lose my house, I'm gonna lose my car. I think the fear of losing your shelter, right? I think next is the fear of losing respect. I think people feel like if I walk out here and I go through this difficult time, that people gonna talk about me. They gonna look down on me. They're gonna say, why would you do that? Or that was silly, or boom, you know what I mean? And so you fear other people's responses. All right.
Yeah.
So one, there's a fear of losing shelter. There's a fear of other people's responses. I think ultimately there's a fear of loneliness. Some people are just naturally, they don't like change. Change shakes and rattles them. So just what do I do with my time is a lot of questions for folks who'd be scared to step out here. Like, what do you do with your time? Like, you're so used to your work family. It's like, without this family, what do I have? That's comforting the people that you're around. So there's so many different things that kind of scares people. But my new album, I just finished a new album, and on the new album that's coming out, the first song, the second verse of the first song talks about this. It's like, my necessity for leaving wasn't just for me either. Like I was watching coworkers around me who were bigger than where they were, but were also scared to leave.
Yeah.
Or residing in comfort, in perceived comfort, but they were uncomfortable. And I was watching them be stifled. I was watching their light go out. And I could only imagine if that's what was happening to them, that's what was happening to me. And I knew what was happening to me. I was watching my own light get dimmer. not because it was a bad place to work, but in this conversation, toxicity in this workplace, toxicity was essentially, for example, that old story about a flea who can jump, fleas can jump multiple times their body size, but if you put them in a jar, they will learn to only jump as high as the jar. Well, essentially, you got me who can jump. I can jump, but my job in this case was a jar. And in order for me to be what the job needed, I needed to not be me. Because the more that I was me, the more conflict that existed between the job and myself. And eventually it just came down to, like, even my supervisor just looking at me one day and just been like, listen, I know who you are and I know how you rock and I like you, but I can't have you here no more. And she didn't, of course, she wasn't gonna fire me or did good work, but she was just like, it was kind of one of those things where it's just like, I'm making her life hard as a manager because I do the work, but I move in ways that make it harder for her to enforce systems.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna come late. I'm gonna come late because I gotta drop my daughter off at school. Not because I'm late. I gotta drop my daughter off at school, and I'm not gonna not drop her off at school so that you can feel right.
Right.
But then when I get there, I gotta be at work at 8:30. I'm gonna get there by 9:15, 9:30. When I get there, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna work. Around 1 or 2 o'clock, I'm gonna leave to go handle a business move for my lunch. I ain't gonna eat lunch. I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna come back from that business move, 2 o'clock. I'm gonna work. Work ends at 5. I'm leaving at like 4:30. But I put in work.
Yeah.
Your other employees are there at 8:30. They there at 8:30. They come in, they clock in at 8:30. They go downtown. They go down the street to Dunkin' Donuts. They get their coffee and their donuts. They come back up. They talking to each other, checking on each other, seeing how the day went. They walk around to the other departments in the building to check on their friends and see how they doing. They're there at 8:30. I promise you. They don't start working at 10:30.
They giving it 3 hours.
They go to lunch at 12. They eat, but they eat heavy. So they take their whole hour to eat, but they eat heavy. So after they eat, from 12 to 1, they eat. From 1 to 2, they trying to stay up. So they watching Netflix on their phone, on their computer, or shopping. Then they get busy again around 2, and they may put in a solid work to about 3:30, 4 o'clock. But then we got afternoon meetings at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Even though they present for the meetings, ain't done no work.
Yeah.
I'm a work. And so I look at it, I was like, I cannot work for people who think they pay me enough for my time. You don't. What you pay me for is productivity. And if you understood that, you would let me produce because I've been producing for you. Our biggest beef is that you want to tell me what time to do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people experience that too. It's not so much about the productivity, although it should be. It's more of like kind of controlling, I think.
I'm gonna outproduce your normal worker. I'm gonna outproduce your normal worker. But if you start telling me how to live my life, one of the things I get to do as an entrepreneur that was hard to do is I get to pick my daughter up every day from school without having to give an explanation to anybody for it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade that for the world right now.
Yeah. You get to focus on what's most important.
Conversations me and her have, the ability to just walk into school and talk to her teachers and check on things and talk to her principal and just stay on top of what she needs. Go to our after school programs. I mean, I ain't trading that for the world. And I ain't losing no money. If everybody who want to talk to me, they work around my schedule.
I like that. And I'm kind of jumping into your songs a little bit, because in one of your new songs, you say the statement, it's about conversations over faith and fear. Faith will tell you to leave, and fear will keep you here. Which is what you kind of just said anyway. But that kind of moves into the next thing that I wanted to talk with you about. So even in like my own journey of like trying to get to living in purpose and things like that, I feel like there's also this process of letting go or learning to let go, whether it is like the way that you think about certain things, letting go of people, or like ways of living. And I feel like I also kind of noticed that in some of your songs too, whether it was like a voluntary let go of maybe like a certain kind of lifestyle you could have lived or something, or forced, because you do talk about some relationship things. But what are your thoughts on the importance of letting go, or knowing when to let go so that you can get to the next phase?
I mean, in recent years, I've been a really big proponent of like love and what it means to look like, to move with love.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my daughter, every morning, we do affirmations. We define love as not an emotion, but love is something that you do to show appreciation or understanding, right? Appreciation when someone or something is at its best, and then understanding when they're not.
Mm-hmm.
I think this idea of letting go is, I don't think the concept is letting go.
Mm-hmm.
I think the concept is realizing that you never had it.
Oh, okay.
That you were only experiencing it for a time, or experiencing this person at a time. So it takes away this idea of possession, that I've worked to a certain place where I now have, this is mine.
Mm-hmm.
And though America has coined the idea of ownership, whether you can own land or own a house or own a car, I mean, electrical fire, house gone. Car accident, car gone.
Yeah.
Death, loved one gone.
Yeah.
We don't, it's none of ours. And so I think the importance of understanding how to let things go is knowing how to love things, and how to appreciate things, and how to enjoy things while you have them, because you won't always have them.
Yeah.
And when you don't, life don't stop for you, right? Nor does it stop for it, right? Even if someone passes on, life didn't stop. It just transitioned into a new form.
Yeah.
And I think, man, just being at a space where you realize that, like, who you were sent here to be, as long as you tap in and stay connected to source, you're going to become that. But that process is also cyclical. So it's like, it's always going to be, Drake had a song back in the day said, no new friends, no new friends, no. I don't know what the hell Drake was talking about. Because at different levels of your growth, there's going to be a new tribe of people who are connected to that level of growth. Some people are going to grow with you, but most people not. And so you're going to naturally, your consciousness is going to outgrow certain scenarios and places. Maybe not people, but it's going to outgrow scenarios and places. And if the people who are attached to those scenarios and places are still in those scenarios and places, then it looks like you leave them. Even you got to become. You got to either become, or you got to stop becoming. And once you stop becoming, and the universe and the planet can't use you because you're not becoming, it's only a matter of time before you transition into something that the universe can use. Fertilized dirt.
That's an interesting perspective. I like that. You never really had it. And that's very true now when I think about the things that I feel like I had to let go of. So now kind of transitioning a little bit into your musical life. You've been a lyricist for a while. What has the role of music played in your life journey?
Great question. Early on, music was the first thing I was really good at. I started writing poetry when I was 7 in poetry competitions, but in second grade, I was 7 in second grade, I did a talent show and where I wrote a rap song called This Is What Little Boys Are Made Of. And I won the talent show. Me and my boys won the talent show. And so it was really the first thing in life that I could grab onto to say, I can do this. Like, this is what I'm good at. It's the first thing I became known for. It carried me through middle school. It carried me through high school. And I was a 3-sport athlete, football, basketball, track. But I was known for music. So music is really what carried me to college. I really went to college to get I got a marketing degree with a minor in music business. My goal was to come out and actually go work for a label and then utilize the knowledge that I learned from working for the label to start my own label. I ended up going into teaching and not into the music business at first, but of course I ended up still starting my own label.
Yeah.
But then when I became a teacher, I realized that music could be used to teach. I realized the access that my students had and the autonomy that my students had over pushing play versus being forced to come in the classroom. So I started using my music to teach. But it wasn't long before I realized that most people don't like to be preached to in their music or taught in their music. And so what I had to do was I didn't want to stop teaching in the music because that's what gives me true purpose behind it. But I also wanted to make it digestible. And so my brother told me something one time that helped me as a math teacher. He said, I come to give you what you want. It's marketing, but he says, I come to give you what you want so that you'll want what I come to give you. And I needed that context for the math class because I was dealing with young Black boys and girls in the inner city who would square up and throw the ones, shoot the ones, and fight anybody. They down for everything but a math. They're brave across every board until you give them a math test, and it's like you watch the hardest youngin become the softest youngin, scared of a sheet of paper with some questions on it. So I had to find a way to like get these young Black boys and young Black girls in the inner city of DC to trust me enough that they would let me teach. And, you know, I tell people I could teach math to anybody. If you believe in me, if you believe I can, if you believe in yourself, I can teach it to you. And so music then became that same thought process, right? I come to give you what you want so that you'll want what I come to give you. So a lot of my music has hidden messages in it. Hidden because even in my language choice, people want to call my rap positive rap, but then they be confused when they hear cuss words and the word nigga. Excuse my language if I can't say that on your blog, but it's the reality.
No, you're fine.
They hear the word nigga or they hear a cuss word, and I just remember Lauren saying I add an MF so the ignorant ones hear me. And so the music is meant to be entertainment so that you can absorb it and enjoy it. But in it, I've said there's intentional things in it that should be small sound bites that start to reshape your thinking if you're not paying attention.
Okay. Yeah, I actually that was one of the things I think I was impressed about because I do consider your music positive music, but I also like the fact that you cuss too. Because that's how people really talk. That's how people talk every day.
Yeah, I mean, and it depends on the song. I got some songs that are just blatant positives. I hate the word positive. They're just blatantly for the movement. But then I got some other ones that aren't so blatant. It's like, yeah, especially with this new project coming. It's a little bit more just hip hop.
I'm excited about that too.
Just can't even look gangster.
So you kind of already dipped into like my next couple of questions because I was gonna ask how you use your music as a tool, and then I was gonna talk about that. You know, I feel like you have a lot of like affirmations too in your music, and that you have this way of preaching without being preachy, in a sense. Have you always kind of had that skill of communicating with people in that way, of like kind of like motivating, but not like speaking at them or being too preachy?
Nah, a teacher taught me how to do it.
Okay.
I mean, but no, I haven't. I think I mean, what I realized is that music has, right. So we know music has power. Whatever you say behind music, it has power, right? So
Hmm.
both history and music and the spiritual laws of the universe taught me how to use music.
Hmm.
Um, Pac, Biggie,
Yeah.
Pac, talked about death. He died. Biggie had an album called "Ready to Die." He dies, and then after that, he
Hmm.
got an album called "Life After Death." XXX and on a newer artist who died a couple years ago was talking about death before he left.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just, it goes to show that whatever you put into this music, you start to manifest. And so what I realized is that, some of my earlier songs, I might be like, you need to do this, and you and we need to do boom, boom, boom. And now I just be like, I'm
Hmm.
powerful. I'm strong. Like, I'm black. I'm I. And
Hmm.
I think some people who hear it at first, they think it's braggadocious. So it's less positive. It's more like braggadocious, more like some Jay-Z or like even Nipsey. It's braggadocious to some people until you start rapping it. Because once you learn the lyrics and you rap it, it ain't me saying it no more. It's you
Right.
saying it. So the
Right.
goal was to write the music in such a way that if you learn the lyrics and you repeat it, my affirmations become your affirmations.
Mm. So, the next thing, I guess, kind of moving into the language part of the podcast, and without tapping too much into like your life coach method, because people need to sign up for that. But what would you say to someone who is, one, trying to find their purpose, and two, they found it, but they are feeling afraid to step into it?
If you're trying to find your purpose, but you haven't found your purpose, it's 5 questions you can ask yourself. Who am I? That's your name. What do I do? So you can talk about the things that you're good at.
Hmm.
The next question is, who do I do it for? So that'll help you find your target market.
Hmm.
You can ask yourself, fourth question is, what do they need or want? And then the fifth question is, how will their life be better if I provide it?
Mm.
If you do that, you can find the purpose of anything you do, but you can also use those questions to talk about your overall purpose. It'll help you find it. You just got to answer the questions. For a person who knows their purpose and who's afraid to do it, I think you're only afraid because you don't have a plan,
Mm.
which is why we push the idea of therapy, but like I would push the idea of coaching. Like, find you a life coach,
Hmm.
somebody who can be a thought partner for you and add accountability for you as you map out a plan for what you want to do to make your next step. Um, you know, a life coach isn't there to tell you what to do. A life coach is
Right.
there to help you, to be a sounding board, to help you map through the plan. Um, Fear can quickly be overcome with faith if attached to concrete steps.
I like that a lot. I like that. I'm taking it in too.
Mm.
Okay. So because this is also Hip Hop History Month, and you kind of mentioned Pac and Biggie already, but who did you grow up listening to?
I mean, Tupac mostly, but like, because of the work that my brothers did, they were they brought a lot of New York influence
Mm.
to my hometown, especially music. So one of my brothers, my second oldest brother, he gave me a crate full of tapes when I was in like elementary and middle school. And in that crate was like EPMD, Wu Tang, Tupac, Biggie, Mace, Rakim, um, Arrested Development, Public Enemy. So I had all the tapes. Method Man, Red Man, like I had all the tapes. Busta Rhymes, I had all the tapes. He had all the tapes. Like a person would collect CDs, he had all the tapes. And I think he made a spiritual transition in his life. And when he did, he left me all the tapes.
Yeah.
So I got a good healthy dose of a lot of New York rap.
Okay.
New York, New Jersey rap. I wasn't really big on the South at that time. It was all New York, New Jersey for me. So all of the people I mentioned, along with Jay-Z. I didn't really like Jay-Z coming up because he was too braggadocious for me and I couldn't relate because he was talking about things that I ain't necessarily see. But like as I got older, I understood him more. Now Jay-Z is definitely top tier, one of my favorite artists of all time. But that's who I listened to growing up. And then I was also really big on the spiritual side because my family was in the church. But my dad was an old head. He was born 1941. So like between blues and old Chitlin Circuit gospel music,
yeah,
I had a lot of that. So like my favorite artist of all time is Sam Cooke.
I can hear that in your music, some of your music.
Yeah, Sam is definitely one of my favorites. But you also get a little Lee Williams and the Tenaneers. And if y'all don't know who Lee Williams is, of course he's passed, but like these are just old gospel singers. Mahalia was definitely in the lineup. My mother really only listened to gospel. Aretha Franklin's gospel music, Reverend James Cleveland. Like we used to listen to these folks. So like I got a lot of Chitlin Circuit Baptist church music in my upbringing.
Deep down. I didn't know Lee Williams though. I don't think I knew him. So who do you listen to now?
Me.
Yourself? You listen to yourself.
The problem is when I'm in album mode, when I'm making an album, I don't listen to anyone else.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, they will naturally influence my creative thinking. But other than that, who I listen to? Kendrick, Cole. As I get older, I really diversify. I like Kendrick, Cole. I like King Von. Rest in peace to King Von. I like King Von. Of course, his music was, death, but he was a really good storyteller. I like the way he told a story. Nardo Wick got a song I like.
I don't think I know who that is.
Boom, 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 boom. What the is that? Like you just you find some fun in the music. But Jay-Z, Kendrick, J. Cole. And then my classics, like I still listen to the old school music. Like I got a playlist that I listen to. They got T.I. on it, Busta Rhymes, Snoop Dogg, Method Man, Pac, Big. I got playlists of just classic music over time, and I literally listen to those playlists until somebody introduces me to somebody new. On the R&B side, I'm really into like Sir, Anderson .Paak. D Smoke, I listen to D Smoke. I rock with D Smoke.
Yeah, I like D Smoke a lot.
Yeah, and then I got artists. I got friends who are artists.
Okay.
Who y'all might not know, but like my people, like I listen to their music. That's the music I want to listen to. They make the stuff that I resonate with.
That sounds good. I like the music that's storytelling too. I like Kendrick a lot. Because he has some good stories. I have a book. I've been reading it for a long time. But it's a book called The Butterfly Effect, and it's about Kendrick Lamar's like music career. But I only got like halfway through it.
So
I can't tell you that much about it yet. Okay. So just to kind of go through some of your songs. The music is one of my favorite things. Not a talent though, but I love things that sound good, and I you know, I love to like go through lyrics. When I was in high school, I was in this kind of like a nerd group. It was called Academic Decathlon. All we did was study and take tests, and it was supposed to be fun. But one of the things that we had to do one year was take songs and like analyze the lyrics. And so at that time, I was like, oh, this is wonderful. I love doing this. So one of the things that I like to do on here is kind of like look at music and then go through some of the lyrics, but I get to actually have the artist here. So I can pull up the lyric and then you can kind of tell me what you were thinking about with that. So I went through like some of your songs that I really, really liked, and then some that I just kind of had questions about.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one I really like is Ali. I always call it a seat at the table, but I know it's called Ali. One, I like it because I like the way that it starts with like that bluesy sound and then it goes into, you know, kind of like a hip hop beat. But I also feel like this song could be like an anthem for the people and like creating our own spaces, right? And I'm wondering like kind of like your overall message from that song. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I feel like you hit it on the head. I mean, there's a macro and a micro component to that song.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? On a smaller level, that could be a dude in the club. Don't want to sit at your table. We don't want to see.
That's true.
Got a table. We don't eat. We getting money. We got the greatest, right? You could be in the club, like talking to somebody in the club, or
yeah.
I mean, you could be a business that just got denied a loan from a bank.
Mm-hmm.
You could be, you know, a racial group in America that feels left out of the political race or the political party.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You could be, you know, the artists who don't keep getting overlooked by the labels. Whatever it is, the whole concept of that song is like, we gonna build our own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that even goes back to Jay-Z, his conversation. You know, Jay-Z went to label after label after label, and when nobody signed him, they didn't believe in him. And then he becomes the biggest artist, one of the biggest rap artists of all time, and really the king of hip hop in a sense. So that's really what it's about. It's to give whoever the ability to say, we don't want to sit at your table. You don't want to see. We got our table. We're going to build our own table. And we're going to eat.
Yes, I love that. I love it. So the other song that I listen to this one a lot. The beat is just so nice and it's kind of, I guess I could say groovy, but it's like you can just kind of play it and chill to it. But the song Press, I think it's just such a pretty song. And you do a really good job of picking people to sing these choruses, because I like every single one of the choruses on your albums. And they sound so good. But I love this song. So first I kind of fell in love with like just the beat and the sound of the song, but then the lyrics also, it's so motivating. So I'm just gonna read, I think this is the chorus. You say, press forward even when you can't see the light. And I'm not doing it, you know, I'm not singing it, but fire shut up in my bones and this fire won't leave me alone. Every time I hear that, it does make me feel very motivated. I like that so much. But there was another line in there that is one of my favorites when you say, and hopefully you can kind of talk about that a little more. Young men have visions, old men have dreams. Young men walk tall, wise men build teams. Broke men see drought, rich men build streams.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, so the first one that you pointed out, and thank you for caring about my music enough. The first one, like I said, I got a lot of gospel influence, so that was a gospel song.
Mm-hmm.
That was Rance Allen. God rest his soul, he just passed away, but Rance Allen had that song said, "It's just like fire, shut up in my bones." Right? So that's Rance Allen, but that's also like a Bible scripture. I think that's Jeremiah.
Right.
All right, so it talks about this fire. And what is that fire for all of us, right? So when I toured, when I did the work and went to tour around the country, this is like one of the main songs where I would just stop and be like, what's that fire inside of you? That's that purpose again. That's that thing that you've allowed yourself to sit in your job because of the money that's coming. You're feeling comfortable. You can pay your bills. You can pay your mortgage. You can buy things, but you're uncomfortable because there's a fire in you telling you that you're bigger than where you are. And you can listen to it and go become, or you can drown it out. But if you drown it out, you're only asking for depression, suppression. If you suppress yourself, you're going to eventually be depressed. So this fire is related to that. And then this idea of like old men, young men have, this is, of course, this is scripture too, but it's a thought process of, it's about perspectives.
Yeah.
I mean, young men have visions, old men see dreams. Like as a young man, I got a vision. I see things that I can do, but as an old man, you don't have visions anymore in a sense because you don't look at them as things that you can go do. They're just dreams. But as a young man, it's a vision because I see a play and I can go map that play out. I'm also very, even with our league, like I'm very intentional about trying to get my people collectively out of the victimization, to get them out of like talking about what people have done or not done for us, and getting them to see the spiritual power that we possess as a people, to just even if the past was crazy, that if we started right now with the right mindset and the right work ethic and the right love and collective effort among us, it don't matter what they did to us or what they try to do. They can't stop what we do.
Yeah.
And I think, even in that idea is like, broke men see drought, but rich men build streams. It's perspective. We all see the drought, but you can focus on the drought or you can build a stream. You know what I mean? I always teach the kids this lesson. So I'm like, man, when Kobe had the ball, Kobe ain't see no defenders. They could double team Kobe and he's still gonna score. But the reason why he scores is because he doesn't look at the defenders. He looks at the basket.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so the goal there was to be like, listen, when you're pressing forward towards the thing that you want to become, you cannot allow yourself to spend too much time looking at the problems. You can solve every problem that comes your way if you keep your eyes focused on the goal. If you start looking at the problem, then the problem gets too big and you can't see over it, around it, or under it. But if you keep your eyes on the goal, you'll find a way around or under or through the problem. Perspectives.
That's good. I like that too. Okay, so just a couple more. So you have 2 songs with the same title and 2 different albums. So I was wondering, the word hope. I was wondering why you chose to use the same title.
Well, the first one you're talking about is from With Great Care, The Dream. That was hope more in the sense of what people understand hope to be, right?
Yeah.
The second hope, as it relates to working and winning, was connected to more of my storyline. So if you listen to the second song on Working and Winning, that song is called Dope. But it's really not about dope. It's really about hope. It's about so the first verse on that, after the affirmation, says, do you have hope or dope? Right? I'm pushing both. Do you have hope or dope? Well, I'm pushing both. Put them jokers on the line, because that's all I know. Right? So whether you putting hope on these lines or you putting dope in the line, put them jokers on the line, because that's all I know. Chemicals transmitted into every sentence. They talking at your show when I get on, they listen. From 4 legs to 2, they straighten their spine, getting high, feeling high, I got dope in their mind. Yusha, but I don't sell hope. I sell instruction. I get the hope to you free so that you trust it. So what you hear in this first song that's called Dope is this conversation about how I was raised On one side, I was raised by a preacher who sold hope.
Mm-hmm.
He used hope to excite you, to raise your endorphins so that he could deliver a message to you.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily about selling you the hope. He didn't really sell you hope. He used hope to get you to trust his message, and then he sold you instruction.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, I was also raised by hustlers. They sold dope. Dope had the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw people showing up every 1st and 15th on a corner to get dope, but I saw people showing up every Sunday to get hope. Both are looking to get high.
Right.
So when you get to the second, when you get to hope, hope really shouldn't be called hope. It really should be called dope, because it says I could have sold dope.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life was full of dope dealers. I could put it out on the road. Instead, I switched it up. They call it hope. So y'all call it positive. You call it hope. You call it positive. You call it hope music.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only because I know that if I can get you elevated in your spirit, then I can teach you.
Yeah.
I can't teach you nothing until I feed you first, until I get you to trust the message.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
That project too, Laina, is what I call the oatmeal theory. It's the good mother syndrome. That's right. You can't force feed the kid the vitamin, and the good mother knows that. So she don't try to feed him the vitamin. She gives him what he, or she gives the child what it likes: oatmeal, applesauce. She crushes the vitamin up and puts it in that applesauce.
Yeah, using it as a tool. Very slick. That's what I love about music too. And then let's see here. I had just like your newest song, Trust Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You and I attended that when you released it, and you talked about that. And I do think that that's a very powerful song too. Just kind of talking about, I guess believing in yourself, kind of, I guess, blocking out what other people have to say, or how other people make you feel about yourself. Is that kind of what you were sending in a message with that one?
Yeah, I mean, when it relates to trust yourself, right? There's a conversation that says true statement, not theory, fact.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody on the planet, over 8 billion people on the planet, everybody on the planet has their own fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have your own fingerprint, that means that even though you were just like all 8 billion people on the planet, there's something specifically unique about you that no one else can tell you about, because they don't have it.
Yeah.
And most people can't tell you about what makes them specifically unique.
Mm-hmm.
So you can listen and take advice from people, and you should, but only to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
You should take advice and listen to people in order to have a smorgasbord of information that you can then sift through to develop a plan for yourself. But at the end of the day, you came here alone. And even though your family are going to walk you to the gravesite, you're going to leave here alone. And you need to make sure that when you leave here, that you're pleased with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So trust yourself is really this idea of like, did I put it all on the line? Did I live up to, did I move, did I make the decisions that I wanted to make for myself? And it's also one of those things where like every decision you make that's right for you ain't gonna be right for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for people to make their lives more comfortable, they're gonna try to tell you how bad you're doing because what you're doing don't fit them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can't listen to them because they might be telling their truth. Hey man, you're ruining my peace. But if my peace, if for you to have peace, is oppressive to me, or for me to have peace is oppressive to you, isn't the world big enough that we don't have to deal with each other?
That's true. That's true.
So I'm saying, so like, it's like,
Yeah.
if who you are isn't right for somebody, you don't have to fight them, call them names, or treat them bad. Just move in your own space around them. Trust who you are and get it done. You know, even when we think about what's going on right now in the world with, you know, anti-Semitism,
Mhm.
I can understand, even from a Jewish perspective, why we would not want to like allow this language to live. Like, they had Adolf Hitler, and Adolf Hitler was intended to wipe them off the planet.
Mhm.
And even then, I would have told Hitler, like, bruh, if you don't like these folks, you ain't got to kill them. Just don't deal with them.
Mhm.
So I'm saying? And so trust yourself is also kind of like this connection to this thought process. Like, if I have to do harm to you
Mhm.
to win, then I
Yeah.
don't trust my own ability to win.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't trust me enough to win in your presence. So I got to get rid of you to win. I got to see you
Mhm.
lose to win. Nah, I don't need to see you lose to win. You got birds, airplanes, flies, bugs, beetles, all that fly around, and the air never runs out of space for all of it.
Yeah. That's true.
So bet on yourself, trust yourself, even with your own purpose. Just go forward. You know, because the truth still comes down to the idea that like trusting yourself is important, because nobody else can ever be you exactly.
Mhm. That's so good. That's so good. I have enjoyed this.
I'm long-winded too, so
Yeah. That's all right. It's okay. Um, you did have this, so there was this one lyric, I can't remember what song it was from. I was slightly offended by it. You said something about Hampton being the real HU in one of your.
the real HU to Howard, I'm thinking donuts.
I just thought I'd throw that in there a little bit. Okay.
That's what's up.
That was
If you were offended, then that's what's up. I did what I was supposed to do. I got you emotionally involved.
that was the last song that I had. I didn't know if there was any song in particular that you wanted to bring up, or do you have a favorite song
On that album or of all time?
of all time? Is that too hard?
For me, my favorite
Mhm.
song is probably it's either gonna be Star.
Mm,
I like them all for different reasons, but it's either
yeah.
gonna be, Star, or it's gonna be a song from my new project.
Okay. I like Star too. That's a good one.
Yeah. Star got
I had that experience. Mhm.
Star. You get storytelling, you get hip hop. Of course, you actually get me singing as well.
Mhm.
I'll give you a full spectrum of what I offer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even really mention that. You sing on some of your songs too.
Some of them choruses, that
Mhm.
you love is me singing. Like law on Working and Winning is me singing.
Okay. Yes.
I was sent for your spirit to tell you.
Yeah. Go where you have to go. No,
That's
that's
what
not that.
that's
That's
work out.
another one. Oh, okay. Okay.
But that's me singing.
Nice. Okay, Yusha. Is there any other thing that you would want to share with the people?
Yeah, I'm a master certified life coach.
Mhm.
beyond the music, I took on coaching because I'm coaching and helping people all the time anyway. So I just took it on to be able to create space where I could have regular programming to help folks who want it. But essentially, my only goal is to work with those who believe they were made for more.
Mm.
If you believe you were made for more, my goal is to be a thought partner and an accountability partner for you as you map out how you're going to become more than where you are.
Very good. And where can people find you?
Yusha Assad on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got a website. It's going to be the same thing, yushassad.com. But if you want to tap in, just come to Instagram right now. You know, Instagram took over the world.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation so much. Thank you for letting me pick your brain, dig into who you are and why you do what you do. I also really appreciate that you agreed to come on my podcast because you didn't have to. So I wanted you to know that I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. And I'm flattered that you like the music. Like, thank you. Been doing this for a long time, so I'm glad it's been well received.
It is. It really is. And can't wait for that new album to come out. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This was such a motivational episode. I hope that you heard something that inspired you and pushes you to choose faith over fear so that you can live in your purpose on purpose. See y'all next time.